Okay, so we just finished, as Jax shared, we just finished a week-long session, or what's a silent retreat. So it's a full schedule all day from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. of lots and lots of zazen or meditation, lots of sitting, lots of silence, and that kind of practice really is uh, it's kind of I'm trying to think of the anatomy. It's not the backbone. It's the mitochondria, the mitochondria of Zen practice. Um, and so, having a regular practice where you meditate for 20 minutes, an hour a day, here or there is wonderful. It's beautiful. But I really encourage everyone to at least dip your toes at some point into this intensive practice, because it really does change the game, and it really does allow us to just cultivate intimacy with ourselves and our lives in a way that nothing else really quite does, in my opinion. I'm sure there's tons of other things to do. Um, but we offer lots of sessions. We probably offer about 7 or 8 a year, and people are always welcome to join full-time or part-time. It's very low barrier entry, so I really recommend it. And I wanted to start by telling a story that I've already told a couple times this week, so I'm sorry for those of you that have heard it already. But it's just, I was reading through some commentaries this week, and it just stood out to me as the perfect illustration of what we're really doing in Zazen. So it's a story about Milarepa. Has anyone heard of Milarepa before? He's like an iconic, like old-timey Buddhist, right? So Zen kind of came about in the what, third, fourth, fifth century AD. Milarepa is like back in the BCs, I think. Um, so he's, I think, in Tibet. Yeah, he's a Tibetan guy, and he's one of the early Buddhist masters that we hear about. Lots of folklore around him. He lives in a cave, and he wears one shirt in the snow, and he eats boiled nettles, and he's this, a real monk's monk, extremely powerful meditation. There's all these crazy magic stories or whatever. And then one day he's out for a walk on his mountain, and he comes back to his little cave, and there's all these demons in his cave, and they're messing with his stuff, and they're pushing over his boiled nettles, and they're just wreaking havoc in his home. And so his first instinct is to plead with them, yell at them, please go away. I don't want you here. Go away. And of course, as with any of these magic stories, we're thinking about what are the demons in my life, right? So maybe this is jealousy. Maybe this is loneliness. Maybe this is relentless ambition, self-loathing, whatever it may be, whatever your demons are. And so we have that impulse to say, go away, I don't want you here. But as we may have seen, that doesn't really work very well. And it doesn't work for Milarepa. So then Milarepa's like, yo, I'm this dope ass meditator. I'm just going to meditate so hard and clear my mind so hard, and that'll make the demons go away, because meditation is my, can just make everything so peaceful. So he sits down in meditation, and he meditates as hard as he can, and the demons just laugh at him and continue to bounce around and cause havoc. And then he just kind of has this moment where he knows exactly what to do. And he gets up, and he finds the biggest, scariest demon in the room, and he shoves his head directly into his mouth. And he says, "Go ahead and eat me." And at that point, the demons say, "Well, shit, we got nothing on this guy now," and they all disappear. Um, and so I just thought that's such a perfect way of describing what Zazen is. And particularly things like sesshin and intensive sitting practice. We're not here to be calm and quiet and clear our mind so that everything is peaceful. We're here to go directly into the mouth of our demons and our angels, for that matter, right? Sometimes sitting in sesshin and all of the, oh my God, I'm the best thing in the world and my life is so great, and all the angels come too. And so the point is not to shut those out or shut those down or be bigger than them, or all these other ways that we talk about it. It's to really go straight in. So if anger comes up, if jealousy comes up, if loss comes up, then just be loss. Just get completely devoured by self-loathing, um, without, and the trick is to genuinely have no intention on making it go away, right? Milarepa didn't say, I know, I'll use reverse psychology and I'll get eaten and then they'll go away. No, he said, you know what? Just eat me. Just do whatever you want. It's like this ultimate kind of surrender kind of a feeling. And what you see in meditation is when you do that with zero intention of making it go away, and you just simply throw yourself into whatever is coming up, you notice a shift. And then you have to forget that I told you that, because then you're going to be expecting it. So it really is just about forget shift, forget getting rid of, forget being a better person, forget, being my higher self, all that stuff. You can let it go and just get devoured by this life, by your mind, by your karma, by your heart. And that's intimacy. That is the deepest intimacy. And that's what this practice is about. It's not about getting clear. It's not about being wise. It's not about being any kind of thing other than exactly what you are. And that's freedom. Just dance with the demons. Um, so that's the story of Milarepa. And I do want to add that this doesn't work with all of our demons. There are some very, very, very dark demons that we know about now that maybe they didn't know back in Milarepa's day. We're talking about real heavy trauma. We're talking about serious mental health conditions, um, where we actually do want them to go away. And there are medications and there are other modalities just to get us to a baseline of safety. And I think that's really important to mention, because as someone said today in the closing counsel of our session, intensive Zen practice isn't necessarily a safe space. I know we're really preoccupied with safe spaces these days, and of course physically it is, absolutely 100%. But throwing ourselves in the belly of our demons is not a safe practice. Um, Inviting the total dropping off of body and mind is not safe and happy. It's safe to your actual physical well-being, but it can be scary. and it can call into question a lot of things that we have held on to for our entire life. And that can be hard. So, I hope the Milarepa story is inspiring, but I also hope that we take caution and are mindful of when things actually get potentially dangerous and potentially harmful. Um, so, yeah, trust yourself to do what's best for you. I'll say that. Okay, so that's the Milarepa story. And then I'll just quickly, this whole week I've been talking about koans. So koans are like these little stories or parables that we use. As we say, we don't work with koans. We use koans to work with our life, right? And so we sit with these stories. We talk with a teacher to express and pass these koans so that we can just get more intimate with our life, right? And we have a curriculum of various koan collections. So I've been kind of talking about one koan from each collection throughout the week. Wednesday was the 200 miscellaneous koans that we start with. Thursday was a koan from the Gateless Gate, or the Mumon Kan. Friday was from the Blue Cliff Record. Yesterday I spoke from the Book of Equanimity. And then the last book, or the last kind of formal collection that we study, is called the Denko Roku, or the Record of Transmitting the Light. Um, and so just a brief history, Keizan Zenji, who is Dogen. Anyone heard of Dogen before? A few of us. So Dogen is kind of like, the Michael Jordan of Soto Zen, or the Jimi Hendrix, just the guy that everyone talks about. He's really famous. He's a prolific and just genius writer. So we talk about him a lot. And Keizan was his Dharma grandson or great grandson. I'm not exactly clear. And so Keizan compiled koans that are basically the stories of the enlightenment of all of the ancestors, starting from the Buddha all the way down to the guy that came after Dogen, right? So the Buddha was an Indian guy in about 500 BC. He had his enlightenment. He had a student that he thought shared his enlightenment, so he passed on his Dharma to him. Then he had a student, passed it on to him, and so on and so forth, all the way down this intimate, personal, mind-to-mind transmission of this awakening. So that theoretically, someone who receives transmission today is actually receiving the same understanding of the Buddha himself 2,500 years ago. That's why we call it a bloodline. It's a family. It's being passed down intimately through the generations. So this is supposedly the stories of all of the enlightenments of all of these masters throughout the years, from India into China, into Japan, all the way to Dogen and his successor, Koun Ejo. So there's a lot of really flowery, fun stuff in here. I just fell on one and decided to talk about it. I won't talk about it too long, just point out a few things. So here's the case, or the koan itself. The 24th ancestor was the Venerable Arya Simha. So we're still in India here. We haven't quite made it to China. He asked his teacher, the 23rd ancestor, "I want to seek the way. What concerns should I have?" The patriarch, or the ancestor, said, "If you want to seek the way, there is nothing to be concerned about." The student said, "If I have no concerns, then who carries out Buddha activities?" His teacher said, "If you have some business, these are not merits. If you do nothing, this is Buddha activity. And then the teacher goes on. A scripture says, the merits I have achieved are not mine. Hearing these words, Arya Simha entered the wisdom of the Buddhas. So here's this case where Arya Simha is a student of the previous ancestor whose name is Haklan Ayeshes. You will all have to remember these names. You will be tested at the end. So yeah, he comes to this Indian Buddhist master and he says, I really want to seek the way. Is that what he says? I want to seek the way. So even just there is a whole lifetime of practice looking at that. Seeking this way. What are you seeking? Why do you come here and sit? This is the way of dropping off body and mind and penetrating life and death and letting go of the self. Is that what you're seeking? You don't have to. It's just a good question. What am I seeking when I come here? A lot of people pursue spiritual practice seeking healing. Some people pursue spiritual practice seeking fame and fortune. And so just being intimate and honest about what is it that I am seeking is already just such a rich practice that's already offered in the first couple sentences here. But this guy really wants to wake up to what the Buddha woke up to. And so he asks, what concerns should I have? What should I focus on? What should I direct myself towards? What should I be worried about? What should I watch out for? And the teacher says, if you really want to seek the way, there is nothing to be concerned about. And I mean, just imagine that. Every day we're concerned with so much. Right now, I'm a little concerned with how I smell. I'm concerned with how people see me. I'm concerned with how much money's in my bank account. I'm concerned with how much I'm helping people. I mean, it's all these things. So just imagine what that could possibly mean, having no concerns. You'd probably just die because you wouldn't be concerned about eating. So this seems to me not so much of a command, stop concerning yourself with everything, and more of an invitation to really look, what am I concerned with? So then the student asks, if I have no concerns, then who carries out Buddha activities? Right? So by this point, Buddhism is like around. People know about Buddhism and Buddha, compassion, being of service to others, offering wisdom. These are kind of common Buddha activities. And if I have no concerns, then like I wouldn't be doing any of that. If we have no concerns, then we watch a hegemonic system of oppressive institutions just hold people down. Is that Buddha activity? Doesn't sound like it. So yeah, this is the right question. How do I have no concerns and also be of service to the world? And practice. The only reason I would ever put on black and put my phone away and sit on the floor for 8 hours a day is because I'm concerned with something, right? It's like our marketing guy for the Zen Center, MJ. He always reminds me, no one does anything for nothing. Because I tell him I don't know how to market to people because we don't really offer anything. We offer nothingness here. And he's like, bro, no one does anything for nothing. And there's real wisdom in that. But at the same time, what is this to be free of concerns? So he's like, yeah, if I have no concerns, then like, what am I doing? Like, why even do any of this? And the master says, if you have some kind of business, these are not merits. So this to me feels like, how much are we attaching to our concerns? This is my business. This is what I do, right? Think about all the concerns you have and how deeply you identify with them, right? They become who you are. If I don't address my concerns, well, then I have failed. If my concerns are wrong, then I'm a bad person. Um, so, what's the difference between Buddha activity and me having some kind of business? Right? What's the difference between just doing my job, because that's what we do, and identifying with my job, feeling less than if my job isn't what I think it should be? Um, that's having some kind of business. Even if it's helping people, I'm sure all of us here are familiar with that. When being of service to others becomes my business, it's who I am, and I want other people to know about it. Same with our spiritual practice. I am a spiritual practitioner, and I throw it everywhere on social media so that everyone knows how spiritual I am. Now it's becoming some kind of business that I have. So, yeah, he says, if you have some kind of business, these are not merits. If you do nothing, this is Buddha activity. And I think we can kind of see here in the theme of this koan, the vibe of this koan, this doesn't mean sitting at home lying on the couch. This doing nothing is not being idle, but I think it's more of an invitation to do without self. This doing nothing, doing without an idea of the doing, right? Think about that difference between just being totally taken over by a sunset versus saying, wow, what an amazing sunset this is. You ever experienced that? You're like having a really great time with a friend, you're really connecting, there's this real deep love, and then the friend says, man, this is so great, I feel so connected to you right now. And it kind of like takes it away. I think that's what doing nothing is to really just lose ourselves in whatever it is we're doing, unattached to the outcome. That's Buddha activity. You don't feed the hungry guy because it's the right thing to do. You don't feed the hungry guy because you can then go tell your friends about how you fed the hungry guy. You don't do sesshin so that you can feel like you did some kind of hard thing and you can tell all your friends about this cool thing you did. You just give the guy a sandwich. That's it. Whether it helps him, whether it enables him, whether it, whatever, all the other business that we want to attach to it, just give the person a sandwich. Just be with the sunset. Just sit on the floor watching your breath without any kind of hang-ups about what it means for me, what it means for others even. Um, so that's this doing nothing. And he illustrates that by quoting this scripture. He says, "The merits I have achieved are not mine." Hmm, I love that. The merits I have achieved are not mine. That is doing nothing. That is having no concern. And that's how we have longevity. You know, you see some of these folks, I don't know if y'all work with like whether they're spiritual teachers or do-gooders, philanthropists, whatever they are, and they're like 80 and they've been doing it for 50, 60 years, cleaning up the beach, running the food bank, being a teacher. And if you get to know them, you really get a sense that like they've been through it all. They've lost their funding. They've, fed the people and the people revolt against them and say they're a terrible person. They've been through it all. And they just have this genuine letting go of like, I don't know who this is helping. I don't know if this makes me a good person. I don't know if this is the right thing to do. It's just what I'm doing. And the merits that come of it are not mine. The detriment that comes of it is not mine. I'm just doing what is in front of me. Um, and if we can practice in this way, and if we can live in this way, then yeah, this Buddha way, I think, will just simply become our lives without us concerning ourselves with it. So I hope that's somewhat helpful and maybe a little confusing, I hope. And with that, I will open it up to questions and comments. Thank you so much for listening.